There was something that I was curious about because I explained it to people like this. You were talking about, I don't want to misquote you, so just for clarification purposes, but I remember you said something along the sentiment of you can't trust necessarily everything that's in it without seeking the nuance and context to try to understand the time period that it was written in. Oh, the Bible is beautiful, but I think we could both agree if you really read the Bible for its totality and understand the context, the Bible is probably the most ghetto book ever written in my life. Like, there's baby mama drama. There is
There is a lot going on there. Yeah.
there's supremacy going on in there. There is where people went from being the good guy to the bad guy, just like as you just said, depending on what perspective you're looking on. But the way that you said that was the Bible, I think you said the Bible is inerrant or isn't inherent, but just to inerrant, I think you said it was. But if you wanted to kind of have that home when you're talking to people about if you're going to read the Bible, you have to understand all the context that it comes with for you to really say you're going to live your life by this, if you're going to live your life by this.
Inerrant means that it is incapable of being wrong. The Bible cannot be wrong. Infallible means that there can be no errors. So the problem with that is what you think the Bible is. So I believe the Bible is inerrant indeed. There are no errors in the Bible because the Bible is just a collection of different narratives, of poems and stories and historical accounts and just a lot of fables even. So how could there be error in things that people were writing at certain times? There is no error in literature. There is no error in literature. It's just literature. It's just a way, it's just history, it's just humanity putting their experiences onto paper. So yeah, it's inerrant. However, if you think that what it means is that it's infallible, then that there can be no errors and therefore this is the word of God and there is nothing wrong here, then we have a lot of problems because there is a lot of wrong behavior in there. But when I say the Bible is probably, it's inerrant, it means I don't read it as the word of God. I read it as an ancient collection of books of wisdom. So as an ancient collection of books of wisdom, it means that there is no error. It was perfect for the people of the time. They were sharing their wisdom with us. It does not mean that I get to extrapolate the Bible, bring it to today, and make it fit my current circumstances. It's absurd and it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous to take things that were written 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and extrapolate it and say, we're going to make it fit my situation today. Because unavoidably, you're going to be manipulating words to be able to give you what you want to hear. You never extrapolate to be able to hold yourself accountable. The extrapolation is always happening when people want to justify really problematic behavior. So we get to extrapolate and say, well, they took over land, so we get to take over land. No, you do not. No, you do not. Because what they did had a specific context. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was right. It could have been wrong. And it had a specific content. They are telling a story. They are not giving us a morality on that story. If you read a lot of the books, a lot of the stories that are in the Bible, there is no, this was right and this was wrong. It's just, this was it. This is what happened. And we get to discuss. That's why I love the way that Jewish people engage it, because Jewish people sit down and say, what does this mean for us then? What can we learn from these things that our ancestors did and the ways in which they behaved? What can we learn from them? What are our ancestors trying to tell us? And there is always an invitation to conversation. It's never they did it, so we get to. That's not the way that the Bible works, because like, for instance, I'll give you the story of Judah and Tamar. You know the story, right? Tamar marries Judah, one of Judah's sons. He dies without giving her a son. So she is given another son, and he dies, and then he's given Onan, who decides to ejaculate outside of her because he doesn't want to die. And so it says that God didn't like that, and he dies, which is messy and complicated. We have to ask, what does that all mean? But then Tamar makes a decision, and she makes a decision to dress up as a prostitute and sleep with Judah and get pregnant from Judah to be able to be safe in that environment, in that society, in a very patriarchal society where women were treated as less than and they needed to have a man. The Bible doesn't say if what Tamar did or didn't do was right. The Bible doesn't say if what Judah did or didn't do is right or wrong. It doesn't. It doesn't, because that is not of interest for the Bible. The Bible is not, I always was told that it was a blueprint for morality and for us to know how to live life. Bullshit. It's not. The Bible is just ancestors of all of us, collective ancestors, writing about their experiences, how things were handled and what happened, to let us know where we come from, to let us know what they learned, to let us know not even what they learned, but how they behaved, the things that they did, and the consequences of those things. So we get to say, why did Tamar do that? And now, knowing systems of oppression, now knowing trauma, now knowing all of the things that we know Tamar was behaving out of, like, she was trying to survive. What she did was not wrong. It's like what I tell my kids. I'm sorry that I didn't create a safe enough environment that you had to lie to me. The only thing we can do is look at Tamar and say, I'm so sorry the system failed you.
That
I'm
part.
so sorry. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to read this book and realize there are no errors in it, because even the question of error makes no sense when you are just telling stories. I'm just telling you stories of how we lived. I'm just telling you stories of how we behaved. I'm just showing the songs that we sang with you. I'm showing you the poetry that we wrote. And you get to do with all of that wealth of wisdom from just having information from your ancestors. You get to do with that as you wish. So yeah, it's inerrant. That does not mean we get to extrapolate it. It doesn't mean it's infallible. It's absolutely not infallible. It doesn't mean that it is the word of God. It simply means that it's a treasure. That's what it is. It's a treasure.
Beat up like Hitmonchan, GV, that's my clan. I abuse ya. I'm that Kaya Super with them kicks like Hayabusa. While I snap the neck of a Satan while he nod his head to this music. We the movement, good vibes sent by God. We the truest.